Australia, a country that has always been a dream destination for students, skilled workers, and migrants. But with the beginning of 2025, the government has introduced visa and immigration changes that will directly affect hundreds of thousands of people. The big question is, are these changes temporary fixes, or are they part of Australia's long-term immigration strategy? And most importantly, how will they impact international students and overseas workers? In this video, we'll break down what the new rules are, why the government is taking these steps, how Australia compares with other countries like Canada, UK, and the US, political and economic analysis, real-life examples of how students and families are affected, the future outlook and predictions. Stay with me until the end, because these updates could completely reshape your migration or study plans. For 2025, Australia has announced several strict measures on immigration. The biggest change is in student visas. Universities and colleges now have to prove that students are coming to Australia for genuine education purposes, not simply as a shortcut to residency. Applicants must now provide stronger financial evidence. It's no longer enough to show just tuition fees. Students must also prove they can afford much higher living expenses. At the same time, English language requirements have been tightened. For skilled migration visas, the government has removed several occupations from the eligible list. Many jobs that were once open for migrants, particularly in areas where local Australians are struggling to find work, are now closed. Family reunion and partner visas will also face longer waiting times due to additional background checks. And perhaps the most controversial change, work hour restrictions have been reintroduced for students. During the pandemic, these limits were relaxed, but starting in 2025, international students will again be allowed to work only limited hours per week. All these changes together have created confusion and concern among potential migrants around the world. If you think only Australia is tightening immigration, think again. This is a global trend. Canada has recently introduced tougher student visa rules and dependent restrictions. Bringing spouses and children has become more difficult. The UK has also banned dependents for most international students and raised the salary threshold for skilled worker visas. The United States has started reforming its H-1B visa lottery system in 2025 to reduce fraudulent applications. In Europe, countries like Germany and France are still cautious with migration, even though they face serious labor shortages. The global pattern is clear. Governments are increasingly using immigration as a political tool. When economies are under pressure, jobs are scarce, or elections are near, migrants become the first target. Australia is no exception. Housing affordability, job competition, and political pressure have all pushed the government to reduce migration numbers. But here's the irony: the economy still depends heavily on migrants. So why has the government taken these steps? The biggest factor is the housing crisis. In major cities like Sydney and Melbourne, rents and property prices have reached record highs. Many locals blame migrants for driving up demand, making it harder for Australians to afford homes. The second factor is job market pressure. While overall unemployment is stable, competition in skilled and semi-skilled jobs is intense. Political parties have started using slogans like Australians First, and this sentiment is now shaping real policies. The third factor is elections. Every government wants to prove to voters that it is in control of migration. Restricting visas is often a popular move among the general public. On the economic side, the government argues that limiting work hours for students will prevent exploitation and ensure that studies remain the main focus. Similarly, skilled migration should only be open when there is a genuine skill shortage, not as a shortcut to permanent residency. These arguments are part political strategy, part economic calculation. Let's take two simple examples to understand the human side of these changes. Ali, a student from Pakistan, is planning to study in Sydney in 2025. Earlier, he only needed to show proof of tuition fees and basic living costs. Now, he has to demonstrate a much larger bank balance, something very difficult for a middle-class family. Ali thought he could cover most of his expenses through part-time work. But under the new rules, his work hours will be strictly limited. This means he will depend heavily on his family back home. Now consider Maria, a nurse from the Philippines. She planned to apply for a skilled work visa in Australia. But nursing has been temporarily removed from the skilled occupation list because the government wants to secure jobs for local nurses. Maria either has to wait or look at another country. Both examples show how real lives are disrupted by these policy shifts. The biggest impact will be on international students. Families that were planning to send their children to Australia will now think twice. Higher financial requirements, limited work hours, and strict visa screening mean that only wealthier families will be able to afford it. For workers, the shrinking skilled occupation list means fewer pathways to residency. Many professionals, from IT specialists to engineers and healthcare staff, will face disappointment. Even seniors and pensioners are affected, because the government is simultaneously tightening Centrelink and pension rules. That means less financial support for older Australians and fewer opportunities for young migrants. These policies are creating a mixed reaction. Some locals are happy, believing the government is finally taking control. But for migrants and international communities, there is growing anxiety and uncertainty. So what's next? Experts believe that if the economy improves and labour shortages increase, Australia may reopen migration pathways. But in the short term, from 2025 to 2026, the environment will remain strict. Universities are already worried. International students provide billions of dollars in revenue. If enrollment drops, universities will pressure the government to relax the rules again. Another possibility is that Australia will move towards a selective migration model, only welcoming migrants who are highly skilled and financially independent. This is a trend already seen in Canada and the UK. In the long term, Australia cannot avoid migration. Its population growth and labour market still depend on it. The real question is, what kind of migrants will be preferred in the future? So friends, these are the new Australian visa restrictions for 2025. In summary, the government wants tighter screening, limited student work rights, and a reduced skilled occupation list. In the short term, students and workers will face serious challenges. But in the long term, policies may be relaxed again depending on economic needs. This leads us to an important question. Is Australia moving towards an immigration model that only favours the elite, those who are highly skilled and financially strong? If so, what happens to middle-class families and students from developing countries? Do you think these policies are fair and necessary, or is Australia limiting its own future growth? Share your thoughts in the comments below.